Beloveds, this is Tara-Nicholle Kirk, the metaphysician. I am live today because it's Transformation Tuesday, and I want to talk to you about how to be your big self and do your big dreams and live your big life. And when I say big, I mean like capital B, capital S, big self, big dreams, big life. How to fulfill your sacred contracts. Very specifically, today we're going to talk about the topic of your zone of genius and how to find it. All right. So, and what is your zone of genius? Do you know what it is? If you do know what it is, come into the comments and let me know that you know what it is. If you don't know what it is and you'd love to know what it is, come to the comments and let me know that too. If you've been doing some stuff to try to figure out what it is, definitely let me know that too. Um, let's begin. All right. So I was giving a talk recently. Some of you know, I wrote up this wonderful manifesto falls short of describing what it is, called the Vivid Vision for Soul Tour 2025. I will roll it out to all of you and do a workshop with you to help you download your Vivid Vision too. And in the Vivid Vision, I mentioned that I would like to be working with a very specific media organization, The Atlantic. So, I mean, I wrote the document that maybe 10 days later, The Atlantic was calling. They sent me a message on LinkedIn and were like, would you like to speak at our Pursuit of Happiness Summit? So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I go speak at it. And during the talk, I talk about the reality that human beings are beings of soul and spirit. That is at the center of us all. We don't leave that shit at home when we come to work, right? And so I talked about part of the needs of a thriving human soul being fulfillment, and being able to spend a lot of the time of your life in fulfillment of your sacred contracts. And so then I sort of talked a bit about the various zones of human activity using the framework that I learned from Gay Hendricks in his book, The Big Leap, which, if you have not read it, if you're in any of my programs in the School of Spiritual Strategy at Soul Tour, you've probably read this book like 3 times. If you're not in my programs, get the book. It's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's brilliant. It's a game changer. All right. And so I started to talk to people in the talk at the Atlantic in Pursuit of Happiness Summit through the 4 zones of human activity per the Reverend Dr. Gay Hendricks. And so, just so you know, the zones go like this. We all have these 4 zones, and everything we do falls into one of these zones, at work and not at work. Okay, this is not just about work, but it's important for work. All right, so the first zone is your zone of incompetence. TLDR is stay out of that. All of us are in that at points in our day, and we shouldn't be. So just stay out of that. The next zone is your zone of competence. That is where you're like kind of okay at doing stuff. But if you came from any sort of like background where there was a like hard work ethic or virtue, there's virtue in the struggle, you may be spending more time than you really should be spending in your zone of competence. Just know that's the second zone. The third and the fourth are where it get really interesting. Okay, the third, especially for those who really do know they have a kernel of greatness within them, I'm talking to you. Especially for those who are starting to kind of get a little worried that they may not reach their full potential or do the big things that they've always wanted to do before they die. If you hear that and that's resonant for you, that's because I'm actually talking to you. So the last 2 zones are really important to understand and begin to master. As you know, one of my core programs is called Life and Self Mastery, because we're not here to be no amateurs. There is a game of life. There is a how to play it. And there is mastery available to you if you're willing to be very counterculture, because this culture does not like mastery. We live in an anti-mastery culture. Don't get it twisted. We'll come back to that in another live. Anyhow, the last 2 zones are your zone of excellence and your zone of genius. right? And so many of us have heard and for years prided ourselves on having a spirit of excellence, being excellent people. Well, your zone of excellence in this framework is actually a freaking trap. It's a trap. Your zone of excellence is where you are really, 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 really great at doing the things that are in that zone. And they are really, 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 really depleting to you. All right. So the zone of excellence, the reason it's a trap is that you're often the zone of excellence is where maybe you've gotten external validation, like in the form of praise from your parents, good grades at school and at college, awards, raises, promotions, big titles, all kinds of external validation you've been getting your whole life from doing the things that are in your zone of excellence, but they are really freaking depleting to you. All right. And then let's talk about your zone of genius. All right. So your zone of genius is where you are maybe the greatest of, you might be a goat. You might be the greatest of all time at doing the stuff that's in your zone of genius. Okay. However, it gives you a life to do the things that are in your zone of genius. It lights you the freak up. Other people from the outside looking in are looking at what you're doing when you're in your zone of genius, and they're like, shit, girl, that's like a lot of work, or that's like so much, or whatever. To other people, it seems hard. And to you, you get like more energy somehow as you go. Right. And so it's no coincidence because, I happen to know that your zone of genius is when you're in your zone of genius, you are also in alignment with, you are doing things that are right squarely within your sacred contracts to do them, right? It's kind of just like how the divine made sex feel good because it was necessary. Sex is necessary for the species to be perpetuated. So it feels good. Same with your sacred contracts, same with you and the things in your zone of genius. The more of us are in our zones of genius doing the things that light us up as we do them, we are actually, those things feel good. We are wired for those things to feel good to us because when we do them, we actually help further human evolution onward, upward, for the better, for the benefit of all. All right. That's how the world gets good. Yeah. And oh, by the way, it's also like the path of the way least resistance to all of your dreams, goals, desires, the real, true, deep, big ones, not the culture says you should want ones, right? So it's zone of genius is same as path of least resistance, is same as fulfilling your sacred contracts, is same as, oh, freaking, it's so much fun. It's so much fun in your zone of genius. All right. I hear a lot of coaches right now talking about how they're like, wanting to, save up, work enough to save enough to quit their jobs. And I'm like, yo, I literally was in a financial position to stop working about like 5 years ago. I can't not do this. It gives me life. Right. And so that's real financial freedom, is when you actually come to work, like delighted with where your life is and eager for more and more and more. And the work lights you up and you're having transformation impact on the people you get to work with. And those people are freaking badass. Like my clients, I would literally spend time with my clients for free and do sometimes. So like, yo, if I can also set it up that I help bring crazy value to their lives and to their businesses and they to mine, and we get to spend time together, I just get to rendezvous with genius people at the Venn diagram overlap of their zone of genius and mine all day, every day. Are you kidding? Yes, I'll be doing that I'll be 397. And you know what? I'll still be cute because I figured that out too. All right. So this is not even. So hi, Kimberly. Hi, Tam. Hi, Pearl. Awesome to see you guys all here. That was all just like my context for the story I want to tell you. Okay. All right. So I give this talk at the Atlantic in Pursuit of Happiness Summit. I kind of briefly brush over the zones of genius. I'm talking to them about my new B2B program, which is called Radically Fruitful. And Radically Fruitful is sort of a name that's inspired by my take on like canceling productivity culture and ushering in a new soulful vision for how we work that's based on being fruitful. All right. So I share a little about the zones, and I share about how I work, that I have two businesses, one, mostly online, but not all, and one brick and mortar franchise business. I have, three kids, all of whom are neurodivergent. I have my own complex medical diagnosis situation. I have, multiple homes in multiple places that I'm kind of juggling and managing at this moment, and creating in this moment. Um, and life is good, real good. And right now, I'm working about 30 hours a week. So after the talk, these two guys who looked really alike walked up to me and were like, "Hey, so we're brothers. We just started a company together. We love the idea of what you're talking about, but is that even real? Like, how is that even possible to work that little? Like, we are working all the time. And is this like kind of a pipe dream?" Was basically what they were asking me. And so I kind of used our conversation as a way. I'm going to use the conversation I had with them as a way to share with you my spiritual strategy method, which is what I teach in all of my programs, very specifically, though, in life and self mastery, and our Empires of the Soul business mastermind for entrepreneurs. So, and the method is just 3 steps. It's recalibration, actualization, and alignment. And we do it in all different ways in all different areas of your life and your business and your work. All right. So basically what was happening with these guys was what I see happening with people who I meet in the world all the time, which is they heard about some actions they might take, or a different way things could be. And when you start thinking about trying to take action to make a change, transformational action in your business or your life, to make a change, but that action conflicts in a really core level with your paradigms, your worldviews, your beliefs, your identity, trying to take the action, or even trying, for them, it was like trying to wrap their heads around the idea they could work 30 hours a week, sparked all this inner resistance. It was like the struggle switch went on, right? They had all this like disbelief. And for others, maybe the issue the inner conflict might not be at belief level, but it might be at identity level. It might be that you actually try to start taking action and changing the way you work and hit your upper limits. And you should do it anyway. All right. Because that's how transformation, real life, real world transformation works, is you begin to take action to do something that's part of your desire set, your dream set, your vision set, your intention set, your goal set, and resistance sparks. And that resistance, here's the thing, you got to start rethinking your resistance, because your resistance is not a sign that something's wrong with you. Your resistance is always a sign that you're doing something right, because you stepped out of your comfort zone. By definition, if you have triggered resistance, you have stepped out of your comfort zone. All right. So your resistance is always a sign that you have done something right. It's always also a gift that points you in the direction of the inner work that needs doing. It points you directly to the inner conflict that needs resolving. So I want to give you a mantra. If you're a note taker, take this one down. I started saying this one probably 25 years ago, after the first time I read "You Can Heal Your Life" by Louise Hay. There's a beautiful mantra in it that goes like this: I choose to see it as a treasure when I discover something new to release. I choose to see it as a treasure when I discover something new to release. So that's a word for someone, because that will change your entire experience of cultivating life and self-mastery, of doing your inner work, of doing your shadow work, of whatever it is, however you're thinking about the inner work that you need to do in this coming season, or that you're in. If you choose to see it as a treasure when you discover something new to release, instead of judging yourself for what you discover that needs releasing, your whole life will get better. I promise you. Okay, so try that on. And actually, let me just, because I've said it, I do my declarations out loud. Declarations are part of the daily ritual that I teach in all of my programs. And I never ask my students to do something I have not done first. So I give them declarations usually like 2 decades after I started working with them, and have already seen the fruit of those declarations come to fruition in my life. Right. So I used to say in my own declarations, I choose to see it as a treasure when I discover something new to release. I see and feel myself changing moment by moment. Other people's thoughts and issues no longer have any power over me. I am the power in my world. I choose to be free. All right. Sometimes I would go into, I think differently, I speak differently, I act differently, other people treat me differently. All is well in my world. So that's just kind of how declarations go. Anyway, all right, back to these guys. So these two guys come up to me. They're like, we would love to believe that it is possible to work 30 hours a week. However, we do not currently believe that it is possible to work 30 hours a week. So I was like, all right. And I'm literally like still in my seat, having just presented. So I'm like, all right, tell me about your parents. Tell me about your childhood. Because so much of this tracks back to so much of the work of life and self mastery in the early stages is the work of deconditioning, unlearning your programs that you learned when you were early childhood. And then there's like the middle stage work of life and self mastery is a work of reparenting. All right. Reparenting yourself, which involves, so you've already seen the conditioning you got when you were little. It involves you being like, ah, yes, thanks, parents. Y'all were good enough, however you were, whether they were good or terrible parents. The fact that you can even be having a conversation, the fact that you can be watching a YouTube video with me right now talking about reparenting yourself and feel the resonance and begin to think about doing that work means they were good enough so that your reparenting journey begins in earnest when you can say, ah, I see that conditioning. I see where I got it. My parents were good enough. I now take the job of parenting myself back over. All right. It can be very related to the work they do in family constellation theory, which we talk about some in the programs, right? Where it's like you can truly give thanks to your ancestors for their gifts and leave the trauma with them. All right. You don't have to take it all. All right. So the first thing these guys said to me was, well, our mother is super, super successful. She's an attorney. I said, is she a billing? Is she a, like a contingent, like a personal injury attorney who works on contingency, or is she an hourly billing attorney? She's an hourly billing attorney. I'm like, I don't even need you to say anything else. Because I used to be an hourly billing attorney. So I know that lifestyle comes along with, I know the trances and the traumas of hourly billing attorneys, and I'm not being facetious when I say that, include the trance of time scarcity, include the trance of like my work, my time is my worth. In California, hourly billing attorneys bill every 10th of an hour. So every 6 minutes of the whole freaking day, they must track their time, some for decades. So it creates a very warped sense of time. And so I was like, so this is step one of their journey is going to be to recalibrate their understanding of work. My work is my worth. No, it's not. Is to recalibrate their understanding of what time is and how you can flow it, how you can expand and collapse it on demand. Waking up from the trance of time scarcity and scarcity in general. This is all recalibration work, right? And doing some of that shift into reparenting and family constellation type work. All right, so that was step one. So the second thing they said to me was, so what's the deal with your zone of genius? Sounds awesome. Don't know what ours is. Actually, I think one of them knew, but he was the quiet one. And I think the other one was like very intrigued by the concept, but didn't know. So he's like, I don't know what my zone of genius is. All I know is I got to have like conversation. I got to hire people and I got to make sales calls and I got to send 40 emails today and I got to and all that stuff has to get done. That's all I know. So I'm like, let's talk about your zone of genius. And I shared with them that, I teach all of these concepts to my 40-year-old clients and to my 4-year-old. Because I want her to have the unfair advantage of accelerated understanding of her own wiring. So I have figured out ways to talk about all these things in language a 4-year-old can understand, truly. And so I said, most of us are familiar with the device, the like the Myers-Briggs type device of introvert, extrovert, right? So most people understand that, or most people I have conversations with, and most of you, if you're watching this, understand that introverts are people. Let me say that back the other way. That extroverts, like my London, are people who charge their batteries on other people. All right. She charges her batteries literally on me, on the other kids. That's why I have her out in the world a lot, because she needs to be around other people to get recharged. Then there are introverts like me. I'm like the most social introvert ever. So I charge my batteries in one on one conversations or in alone time, right? And this is the work that we do in stage 2 of the method, actualization. Actualization requires that you understand your own wiring, you understand how you uniquely work in all of your different traits, all the, any of the self-discovery systems that are important or resonant for you. We work with your archetypes, your attachment styles, your inner critic archetypes. We work with your sacred money archetypes. We work with, your personality types, all of these types. It's really, that's what the work of self-actualization and actualization in my method means. It means you come to discover and learn all the things you need to know about why you do what you do, using all the tools at your disposal. And you do not learn it so that you might fix or change or work on yourself to make those things different. This is important. Our step 2 of actualization in my method is then envisioning, like sort of reimagining your intentions, visions, goals for your life in a way that is designed to make the most of the wiring that you came here with. All right. So it's not about fixing or changing at all. It's about re-envisioning your dreams for your life in a way that the life you envision now works really well with your existing wiring. All right. But you got to know the wiring first. So I told them, here's a way to think about your zone of genius. Think about it this way. Your zone of genius is the work or the activities that you do that charge your batteries. Okay. So all of you who in the comments wrote, you're not sure of your zone of genius. This is the beginning to understanding your zone of genius, is knowing that it is possible and available to you, and starting to be on the lookout for those moments at work and at home, just those moments when you're engaged in an activity that charges your batteries. Begin to take note of those moments. Begin to do it in writing. Okay. And we'll talk about integrating that knowledge as we go on in all these lives y'all about to get. Okay. So then the third thing these brothers said to me, or the one who was like super skeptical and like fascinated, which is always a good sign for me. He said, so are you saying, he's like, okay, I kind of buy that there's work that I do that charges my batteries. I don't know exactly what it is, but I will like be on the lookout for it. Are you saying that I should be trying to build my whole work life around that? Now, he was incredulous because we're all so taught this culture. It's like there's a line in Khalil Gibran's The Prophet, the section of it about work. He starts out saying, always you've been taught that labor is misfortune. Literally, our whole culture for generations of humanity has taught us that work is misfortune. It is an unfortunate thing to have to do, right? That's the platform of beliefs that is about work that is in the collective unconscious. So this guy was like, wait, are you trying to say, he's like, okay, so I buy that there is a place in my activities, in my wiring, where I'm doing things that light me up. Are you trying to say I should basically do that shit all the time? I said, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you can build your whole business and your whole life, or most of it, let's say 90% of it, if you can build that inside your zone of genius, if you can set yourself up so that most of the time you are in your zone of genius, and you can, it takes some time, but you can, then you should do it. Yes, you should do it. That's the goal. That's the dream. And that's why people say about me, I will help you do your big dreams before you die. I will help you do that by undoing your self sabotage pattern. But way more important than all of that shit is I will help you dream a lick the plate dream for your life and fall in love with that dream, which is important because to do all of the rest of this stuff, you need the love of the dream to pull you, to power the work that you do through all the self-sabotage, through all the shadow, right? You need it, and you need that emotional charge and attachment with your own your own love affair with your own future, your own love affair with your own self. You need that emotion to pull you through the inner work and the outer work to bring you to a place where you do start to be, not to start to feel fulfilled, where you start to be fulfilled as you came here to be fulfilled. All right. So that's my steps 1, 2, 3. That's my recalibrate, actualize, align. To summarize, you recalibrate your belief systems first. You actualize by discovering your own inner wiring, and then reimagining your dream for your life in a way that the new life you envision, makes the most of your existing wiring, instead of you trying to change your wiring and force yourself into, on the treadmill of the human the human suffering hamster wheel of doing what other people want you to do, which is usually the stuff that's in your zone of excellence. And then you build your whole business there and your whole life there, and you do it gradually. Gay Hendricks says his goal is, and I agree wholeheartedly with this, his goal is to get his people that he coaches 90% of the time into their zone of genius. And how you start is with 10 minutes a day. So that's my challenge for you at the end of this. Can you spend 10 minutes today or tomorrow doing activity that charges your freaking batteries? It's just like lick the plate delicious to you. All right. If you can, come into the chat and say you can. I have so much more I'm going to share with you guys over the coming days. I'm not selling anything at the moment. I will be soon. None of the programs are enrolling yet, but we will be soon. So if you'd like to get on the list to be one of the first to know when we are letting people back into the School of Spiritual Strategy, just come into the chat and type or into my DMs and type recalibrate or actualize or align, whichever was the one that felt the most like, usually the one that scares you the most is the one that is calling you the most. So what's the thing you want to do the most? Recalibrate, actualize, or align. Put that in the comments or put that in my DMs, and we'll make sure that you are on the list. You're one of the first to know when we reopen the school for enrollment. So if you like this video, if you liked what we did here today together on Transformation Tuesday, and you want more videos like this video, like it literally, so other people can start to see it, share this video with your peoples. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to my channel and click the little bell there so that it notifies you when I put new videos on. I'm doing new lives a lot right now. Or come to soultour.com/subscribe. And for $11 a month, we will literally send these messages directly into your inbox. You'll get a couple of things from me a week, including a daily ritual and a never before seen video from my teaching archives. I send those out on Saturdays to the people who subscribe to that, the $11 a month newsletter. That's soultour.com/subscribe. All right. I love y'all. Can't wait to see you again. It feels like every day, the more I think about talking with you guys regularly, the more things come up that I feel like I need to share. If you ever have questions or things that you'd like me to, cover in one of these, feel free to just email us or put something in the comments. I'm going to check the chat really good. All right. You guys are amazing. Okay. All right. This is awesome. Steve, hi, nice to see you. Sheba, I see you saying actualize. Let's do it. Yes, Kimberly, Pearl, awesome. Tamara, lovely to see y'all. I'll see you guys soon.